Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Alex from Half Heard Voices, and today we're going to talk about this van build that has been occupying basically my whole life. Here's one of the first looks at the van wrap. What I'm seeing is here. I'm standing out in the rain, just admiring it, looking at all the artwork up close. This is artwork from our next upcoming album. We were just absolutely blown away. They did such a great job with this wrap. So what a great finish there. And can you believe that this is what it started looking like? This van actually, it was just a generic white transit van, just like you see everywhere. And it's actually incredibly hard to find the black transit vans. They're just, it seems like they just go off the market. Like they just get bought up immediately. They're very hard to find used, and so eventually I just kind of settled and I said, I'm just going to get one of the white ones and we're going to wrap it, and it's going to catch people's eyes. Also, just having the name on the van is pretty cool. That's a bonus, right? Everybody can see Half Heard Voices, and a lot of people ask, like, what is that? And, they learn about the van. They learn about the van and the band that way. And it's just always been a great conversation starter now for any of my neighbors. So that's been pretty cool. So as you can see inside the van, these contractors or whoever had owned the van previously had custom built all of these shelves into here. Most of them up front were wooden, but all of these in the back were these super heavy duty steel angle shelves that I didn't really realize when I first bought it that they're custom welded together. And you can see I have these close-up shots here of these custom welds, and they're pretty thick. I had no idea how hard it was going to be to take them out. And so here you can see some of the arduous process of angle grinding and cutting these shelves around some of the pivotal joints so that I could actually start pulling them out in pieces. And this just absolutely sucked. Cutting through one of these bars would take about the juice of a single battery. Those metal chips are getting everywhere, falling into crevices, and not only are they just kind of a safety hazard, they're also a hazard for rust. Any other bare metal inside the vehicle that those are touching, if those get wet or moisture builds on them, that's kind of a ticking time bomb for rust. So you're going to see one of the cuts is completed, but it's still connected all the way over there on the other side. So yeah, after cutting everything out successfully, the rest of this thing is also just filthy inside. I think these guys were plumbers, because there was screws and bits and things like everywhere. I had no idea it was going to be that dirty. And I can see that there's this rust here. There's rust spots underneath somehow. Don't know how that even got in here underneath that rubber mat and the insulation underneath. Just cleaning out all the dirt, just mopping. It was just absolutely filthy. Here I am scraping up the rust. A lot of this some of it's not hard work. It's not necessarily all that complicated. It's just a lot of time and a lot of busy work. So if you're thinking about doing something like this, just be prepared that there's always going to be things involved that are going to take up more time than you're expecting. And this is a thing where you can't really skip this. You can't skip this step, because this rust will spread if you don't get it. And so here I'm just I'm scraping it up with some sandpaper by hand, scraping up what I can, and painting over it with Rust-Oleum, hopefully keeping anything from spreading anymore. But yeah, I mean, just look at that. Like everywhere, there's just bits and pieces, just places all over where moisture must have been gathering, starting little specks of rust. God, this sucked. So here's another day of upkeep, putting in insulation within the doors. This is Thinsulate insulation. It's really highly recommended within the van community. It's super lightweight, mold resistant, and yeah, so pretty much anywhere I can fit it, I'm placing it in those crevices and spaces. I bought actually a pre-made set, I think from vanland.com. It comes with all these pre-cut panels that fit right into all these spaces, like you can see here on the bottom of the walls, up on the sides of the walls. And you'll probably notice like my hoodie here gets dirtier and dirtier over time. I think that thing is just absolutely filthy. It has stains all over it, oil, paint, wood stainer. Now, it looks so clean here. I had no idea, but I had already committed to using this hoodie as my dirty van work hoodie because it already had a couple stains on the front, which sucks because I love this hoodie. I love this design. It's one of our most popular merch items, so that is how it goes sometimes. But yeah, so here I am putting up tape, painter's tape, just so I can try to paint around the doors in some of these areas where they were very scratched down. Just covering everything up with Rust-Oleum paint, trying to prevent more rust and get this van ready to be lived in, having a bunch of sweaty dudes in it. Basically the biggest thing you have to look out for with these, every single guide you look at, you're going to learn that moisture is a huge concern. So everything that you do has to have that in mind. You want to make sure that the bottoms of your floors are breathable. There's spaces on the walls where you need to be able to make sure that the moisture and any liquids can drain down and to the drainage points at the bottom of the van, and just make sure that any spots of rust or bare metal are covered with Rust-Oleum or paint, so that it's not going to rust over and ruin the frame of your van over the years. But yeah, this is another day of just maintenance and work, and it feels like you're not really getting anything done. But slowly but surely, it all starts coming together. It's another one of those days where you don't feel like you got everything done, and you really just. It was just kind of a common symptom of this, that all you want to do is just get back out there and get it done because there's so much. And when you start thinking through everything, it just starts to weigh really heavily on you. But yeah, that brings up a great point. I would really recommend building a checklist and writing everything down. Here I'm kind of outlining all my thoughts and plans from start to finish. The checklist of everything I need to buy, checklist of all the steps I need to take, and then listing out details, links, information, things that I learn and will need to know and remember later. Writing all that out and having that in one place to kind of organize my thoughts just kind of proved super crucial. Another great resource is the faroutrides.com. This is, holy cow, I spent so much time perusing this and just learning everything from the electrical system to this is also where I learned about like riv nuts and how to actually firmly install these wall panels, and just kind of get an idea of like how does solar and the electrical system work together, and how do you install lights. Like there's a lot of great resources on this site, so definitely check them out, and props to them. But yeah, here's a shot of the floor after being painted, looking pretty solid. You can see that I actually have the heater out. There was a period where it was just so cold for a whole week, and there wasn't any chance of it being in a suitable temperature for painting the Rust-Oleum, because the Rust-Oleum only dries if it's in a suitable range of temperatures. Actually, I think that's pretty much for any kind of paint, but especially these oil-based paints like Rust-Oleum. And so I ended up kind of doing it in sections and using like a space heater with, you can see there's an extension cord that's going out the door into the house where I'm just trying to keep the van at a reasonable temperature inside, just to let that paint dry. Okay, so here Thanksgiving and Christmas breaks were spent visiting my parents, but also my dad really came through and did such a great job helping out. My dad's just a master craftsman. He built pipe organs for 30 years, and without his help, I don't think the van would have turned out half as nice as it did. So here he is, kind of just showing us around the shop, helping us plan out and discuss what we're going to do. We started measuring things out inside the van, so here we are kind of measuring, looking quite longingly into the distance as we plan out our templates. This is the Super Cut. It is the most awesome piece of machinery for cutting any kind. Anyone who's ever cut like plywood before, a 4x8 sheet of plywood is super awkward, as is a 4x8 sheet of extruded polystyrene foam, and this thing just helps you cut to a super exact and precise degree. Here's a little shot of my dad's stuff, his little workbench, and a little shot of him and my mom on their wedding day. I thought that was nice. Here we are cutting out the outline template for the very back of the floor. So just watching him precisely cut this out with the ribbon saw, very carefully tracing along the line that we drew. And yeah, it looks like it fits perfectly. And these were really cool days, because this is where, you know, you're kind of starting to see things start to come to fruition. We start finally seeing a little bit of results.
It sucks while it cuts.
He had some spare planks laying around. They did need to be planed down. What these are actually used for are the spacers between the ribs, so this Foamular XPS insulation isn't gonna get bent or deform or really kind of squish around and make annoying sounds when you're stepping on it. So as long as there is something durable on top that will spread out the force around on the surface area, this stuff just absolutely will not crush. So our plan was actually just to use the foam, put that down on top of these wood rib spacers, and then we actually just put the vinyl plank flooring that self-locks on top, and it's actually just floating. You're not supposed to cut it too precise. There's actually supposed to be about a 1/4 inch on any side of it so that it can expand and contract with the variance in temperature changes. But yeah, with those locked and spread across the foam floor there, it's perfect. It doesn't bend at all. It doesn't feel like you're standing on top of foam or anything. It works perfectly. We didn't have to do a wooden subfloor or anything like that on top of the foam. I know a lot of people recommend doing that, but with the amount of spacers and the amount of time that we put into planing them and making sure that they're the exact thickness to match those metal ribs, we glued all of those down together, and it just it fit just perfectly, and there hasn't been any issues with it. But we weren't out of the woods yet, so this Loctite PL3 premium construction adhesive, this stuff is awesome. But as you can see, it's actually only going to be able to cure between 19 and 95 degrees Fahrenheit. It was actually colder than that while we were working in the shop, so what we decided to do was cut, measured, and installed everything in the van without gluing it. So then I drove home, ripped everything back out, and then waited for a nicer day. Like you see here, I started reinstalling everything again, and this time gluing it down, putting all the wooden spacers in between the metal ribs, then carefully putting down the foam, subflooring and insulation, and then finally reinstalling the vinyl floor planks. The vinyl planks, they're actually floating, so they're actually just sitting on top of the foam. As we mentioned, they need to be able to expand and contract, so they have a little bit of room on the sides, about a 1/4 inch or so, and then that edge gets covered up by the wall panels, which we'll see in a later episode. So that kind of wraps up the video. I think I'm going to leave it there for now, and the next video is going to look at the electric system and the process for planning, gathering the components, and drawing that out. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Peace.